Welcome back to Modern Ronin Media. My name's Tommy, and this is a channel for filmmakers who love the art of filmmaking. Today we're going to be talking about the Mac Studio Ultra. It's the 48-core GPU version. One of the things that surprised me right off the bat with this guy was it comes, of course, with the 4 Thunderbolt ports on the back, which is one of my big complaints with the Mini. It has the 2 Thunderbolt ports, but my Blackmagic 3G Studio monitor USB-C device can't work off of a hub. So if I was using this in laptop mode and I had the hub attached to it and I had the power going into it, I could not actually use this to do an external display for HDMI out. Another thing I didn't like about the M1, specifically with the Air, was 2 Thunderbolt ports, but it would only support 1 external monitor. So when I had the opportunity to do this thing was great. Like I said, 4 in the back, 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, HDMI port, 10 gigabit Ethernet port. I bought a dongle for this guy for a 10 gigabit Ethernet port because I'm running a TrueNAS 24 terabyte NAS for all of our editing. And that NAS has a 10 gigabit Ethernet port. So everything I'm about to talk about with specs and speed, with the exception of this guy, which is running an actual RAID directly attached to it via external or an additional USB 3 card I had put in here. That's how much I upgraded this guy. Everything else is being rendered out to a network device. So there were a lot of limitations with the first go around with the M1s. And like I said, I'm not a MacBook guy. I'm not a laptop guy. Hell, the iPad I barely even use. That being said, when the MacBook Pros came out, especially the Max and the Pro, they look great. Buddy of mine, Scott Balcom, he actually loves his Mac Pro Max. I hate saying that fast. Mac Pro Max. But even he was really interested in the studio. Anyways, back to this. So what this gave me was multiple monitors in terms of the HDMI, and in my case, I'm still, speaking of age with Macs, I am still using my original cinema display, the 27-inch cinema display I got with this guy from 2011. That's my primary monitor. So we have a, what do we have? We have a mini display port to Thunderbolt. Then we can connect another secondary monitor to the HDMI. So I can run 2 monitors, and theoretically, with Thunderbolt, I can connect a monitor to every Thunderbolt port, which gets really interesting because according to the presentation, and maybe I missed it in the Apple presentation, all the back ports are Thunderbolt. The front ports, USB-C 3 or USB-C 4. I forgot which USB-C, but USB-C Thunderbolt, not on the Ultras. On the Ultras, every USB-C port is actually a Thunderbolt 4 port. So don't quote me on this, but my theory is everything that you connect here, you could run to a monitor via USB-C. That's nice. I personally don't need 6 monitors. 2 is good. And then, like I was saying before, the problem with the Blackmagic 3G monitor device that's USB-C doesn't work through a hub. Well, I now have 5 open ports to connect that to. So let's briefly talk about specs, and what I mean by specs is how this thing runs in render, not technical specs. Go watch Mr. Alex Tech, go watch Linus Tech Tips, go watch whoever who does deep dives and speculations. Go watch Scott Balcom's Tech Cuts. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to tell you, for the way I work, does this work for me? And I'll tell you right now, before we go too much further, it absolutely works for me because it does exactly what I need it to do. So the last time I rendered something out here was probably late May, early June 2021. It was a 15-minute unboxing video that was very basic. One track of video, with a few cuts, a very few transitions, and it had probably 2 or 3 text slugs on a second track. Very minimal audio, and I think 1 color node that was just tuning up, trying to do everything in 1 node. It took almost an hour to render out that 15 minutes. I know that because when I got the M1, I took that same project and rendered it out on there to a network attached storage device on top of that. This rendered it out in under 40 minutes. So I immediately knocked off 20 minutes of render time, which, as someone who cuts all my own videos, who's trying to build a library, that helps me in workflow. So if I'm cutting 10 videos a week, 20 minutes, that's a lot of time I just saved. Come into finish shooting The Nightmare Phantom, started playing around with the footage on the M1, and realized I can't stack, if I'm gonna help them cut the trailer, all of my grades into 1 node. As soon as I got to about 2 to 3 nodes, and then had to start to add different tracks and add film grain and some other minor stuff, just playing around, it wasn't gonna cut it. In fact, I told Scott when I originally saw the Apple announcement on the studios, the earliest I would pick one of these up, because it's not within my workflow parameters, be June, July. There was part of me that looked at it like the next 2 days after it came out, but then I kind of backed off. I was like, no, this guy right here is right around $4,000, and it's worth every penny of it so far. The GPU has changed the way my workflow works in terms of minor stuff. I can now do where I would just do 1, 2 tracks, I can do a 3rd or a 4th track and not slow anything down. I can work on 4K timelines without any timeline degradation, so without having to go to change to half quality or low quality or quarter quality on the timeline and still get 24p playback, no problem. I can go into Resolve and start grading and have 6 or 7 or 8 nodes, hit the loop button and have it play back in real time. In fact, on the Nightmare Phantom trailer, I added film grain to the entire sequence via, without getting into a lot of details on how to do it in Resolve, there's a way to apply it to the whole timeline. And it still played back at full resolution on a 4K timeline with no hiccups. Neither one of these two, even with 1080p in a 1080p timeline, could do that. This thing has really changed the way I'm looking at editing. Does that mean everyone should go out and buy one? No. Figure out if it's right for your workflow. I like to think that the Tokina the Tokina 25 to 75 video that we published, 2 weeks ago, was cut primarily on the M1 and then finished on here because I had purchased this and got it. The test render that I did, which was just the timeline with no text, no grade, took 37 minutes to render out that 12.5-minute video. Took 4 minutes and 37 seconds at default settings. Both of these were outputting 4K, working from a 1080p timeline, because Resolve will go to the highest quality that the footage was shot in. Both to a network rendering device. The amount of time that I saved, that 20 plus minutes, 25 plus minutes, actually 30 minutes plus, means that I could have edited more videos. I could have done more. I could have multitasked on this device without missing a beat. So those are some of the reasons why I think that this thing is so worth the money. It's a big bite. Don't get me wrong. It is a very, very big bite. Now, there are some minor things that I don't like about it. One, I don't like the plug. Can we please go, I don't have it with me. Can we just please go back, Apple, to like something that I don't have to go find a very specific plug for? I wish there was a tiny bit more spacing between all 4 of these, because unfortunately these are in the back, so when you're trying to just feel your way around. Other than that, on the back, I just noticed it because I don't use it. I don't really think it's a good idea to have the headphone and the power button where they're at. Up front, I do not like these ports, these two Thunderbolt ports in the front. I don't know why. It's just, to me, I don't like having extra cables just flying off the front. I don't mind the SD card. So trying to get back here, I would love to see him put it on the side somewhere and move the two front Thunderbolts to the side. Just, it's an aesthetics thing. Other than that, I have never heard the fans come on this. And I put this thing through some good stress tests. So that being said, I just wanted to touch base with you guys, let you know what was going on and what my thoughts are on the Mac Studio. As I always say, go out and create great things. This seems to be the second video in a row where I'm bringing something that may not fall into my theory of go out and create great things. Don't buy the best equipment on the market. Buy the equipment that works for you. And don't let anything hold you back from creating.